So, welcome everyone. My name is Tamara Nenninger, and I'm the marketing assistant here at DSD. And I have the pleasure of being your host today. I'll be managing the chat and organizer features for this webinar. So, if you have any questions or want to interact with us or the marketing team here at DSD, please feel free to use the chat area in this webinar environment or reply to any of the emails that you received from us previously. With that, I also have with us Josh Bell, who's our Sage Intacct consultant, and who will be leading us through today's session. And here's a quick little look at what we'll be covering today. We'll start with an overview of the report center and the account groups, then move into the financial report writer, where we'll be focusing on the rows, columns, and format tabs. Then Josh will provide a quick live demo before we wrap up with a live Q&A session. Please feel free to interact with us through the webinar environment. We want to make this session as impactful and valuable as possible for you today. And then just a quick reminder, the session is being recorded, so if you happen to drop or step away at any point, no worries. We'll be sending out the recording afterwards, so you won't miss anything. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Josh.
Hey everyone, so today we're going to go over the introduction of the financial report writer. So the first thing we want to cover is the different organizational tools that you could use when creating financial reports. So you could create a report type, which is just going to be a categorization tool on how the reports are going to be defined in the system. So you could use month end, quarter end, or analysis, for example, or you could be broad and say just financial statements, but it helps you organize your reports so you can easily pull them when needed. Same thing with report audience. So this is going to identify who this report is intended for. So if you want to make a report for the AP team, the finance department, or the board of directors, you can easily do that in the financial report writer by making it type. Next slide. The next thing we want to talk about is the report structure. So there's two different report structures in Intact for the financial report writer. So you have your account structure, and pretty much what that's going to be is GL accounts are going to be displayed as the rows, and then the columns can be expanded by using different dimensions that you have in scope in your environment. All of the standard reports in your system are going to be the account structure, but there is another structure called the dimension structure where your dimensions are displayed as your rows, and then your GL accounts will just appear across the columns. Next thing we want to talk about is account groups. So with account groups, you could build them however you want, whether it's a range of accounts or specific accounts that you want to add to it. Um, there's different ways that you could do it. So you could do it by a group of account groups, which is account groups that have already been created, and then you want to group them together to maybe like a net income or something like that. You can have accounts as well as an account group, and those are just individual accounts or a range of accounts that are grouped together. You can have computations, so you can have a computation on the rows rather than having like a computation on individual columns. And then you have like your standard category and then your standard stat categories as well. The calculation method for this, so you have start of period, which is going to be the start of a balance sheet period. You also could have end of period, which is typically how your balance sheet would run. And then you have for the period for the calculation method, and that's just going to be for all your income statement account groups. Your normal balance is just going to be the balance of the account group. So if you have a revenue account group, then your account group is going to be credit. But if you have like an expense account group, then that's going to be a debit. You could do account group purposes as well, and that kind of helps organize the account group so you know what report your account group is being used for. You can also have account group managers, so that's pretty much going to be whoever creates the account group. And then we'll show you on the demo, but there's a filter session that you can filter for certain dimensions if you want to pull that data in. Basis for amounts. So what that's going to do is determine what calculation is going to be displayed. And then always display is just going to ensure that the account group is always going to be displayed, whether it has activity or no activity. Next slide. So when you're creating account groups, there's two different views that you could do. So you could do a detail view, which is going to show detailed account level information. And then you can have a summary view, which is going to summarize the totals. And then for summary view, you can also expand by dimensions if you need to. Next slide. So column one, so you can have, this is where you'll start bringing in the data. We'll start building out the data that you want to run the report for. So the first column is usually going to be the account name. So you could change it to, well, you can leave it as account name, or you could change it to just the account number, or you could have a combination of the two and have account number and name. You can also customize the labels as well by changing the titles to something that's more fitting for the data that you're trying to pull in. Next slide. So here we'll have to name the report, and then you can assign the report type, the report audience, and then that checkbox is just going to show if the report is active or not. Then you could decide whether you're going to do an account report structure or dimension report structure. If you are duplicating a standard report, it's going to be hard coded to account structure because all these standard reports are set up for account structure. Filter by dimension structures on rows. So if you want to be able to filter using that information, you would need to check that checkbox as well. The different column types, so that can be defined by the data that's shown. Calculated value, so this determines how the values are going to be calculated. And then once we get into the columns, we'll show you how to set the prior period or future periods for the offset. So you can see either future periods or prior periods. Next slide. So for the report setup, so you can have different column headings. So you can um, basically customize what column headings you want to show up, whether it's the standard one. So if you want just a period or a period name or something like that, you could do that. Dimension structure. So you can filter columns by dimension groups. And basically this gives you ability to do like analysis and pull in dimensional information onto the report. You can also span by a dimension structure or a time period or any of the other dimensions that you have in scope. And then to the right of this, we see the account groups listed. So this would be an example of a group of account groups. So net income would be the group, and then you'll have like individual account groups underneath of it. Next slide. So here we see the columns. So we have column one, which is just going to be the account name. And then we have column one and column two, which has no title. But down below, we have a column title. So if we want to customize the title, we would just have to type in whatever name that we want to get that column. We also have show as options. So if you want to do a calculation, but you want to see it in percentage, for example, you would just have to go to the show as and then change it to percent, and then the system will update that column to percentage based off of the calculation. Display options, so you could have conditional highlighting, so you could come up with different criteria that color codes that just color codes different items that are in that you want to bring up on the report. So if you want to see everything that's negative to be in red, for example, then you could set that up for it to show red, and then everything positive to be in green. Color scale is some it is similar, so you can emphasize value ranges with that. And then spark line is just going to be a trend line. Next slide. For the format tab, so here's where we get to format the report. So if you have a report already and you just wanted to copy the formatting from an existing report, in that top section where it has a drop down for report, that's where you would do that. So you would just select the report that you want to copy the format, and then it would bring it over. Um, you can set up the how you want to see like negative numbers. You can show like the different layouts for the fonts and the page setup, and then you can organize the dimensions, whether it's alphabetically or if you just want to see like the ID and the name or just the ID or so on. Next slide. For the page setup, so you can add the company logo here. You can update the report title and the footer information, adjust page setting, and modify fonts. You can also, on the rows and totals tab, you could customize the row formatting, adjust the total formatting, and update currency formatting if needed. Next slide.
Perfect. Let me make you presenter.
So here we're going to demonstrate how to go utilize the report center, how to set up account groups, and talk about the financial report writer. So there's different ways that you could get to financial reports. So you could go to general ledger. In that middle section under the All tab, you could click on financial reports and it would take you there. You can also go to the reports all and then go to financial reports that way. And then in this example, we're going to go to the report center, which is going to house all the reports. So here's the report center. So you have all the reports. So these are going to be all the reports that are in the system. You also, on the left of the financial reports, you'll have a star beside them. If you click on the star, what this is going to do is list it as one of your favorites. So if you click on the favorites tab, instead of going through all the reports just to find the report that you're looking for, you could go to your favorites and then click it from here. Also with the report center, it's going to be broken up by different modules. So all the modules that you have in scope will be here, and then the reports that pertain to that specific module will show up here as well. Memorize reports. So these are reports that you memorize. So you save the setting. And in this case, on the vendor agent report, we save the setting for this. So we memorized it. And so it shows up here. If we have a scheduled report, that means that this report is set to be ran automatically and sent out. So all of our scheduled reports will be listed here. My reports would contain any reports that either I own or created or memorized. And then custom report is going to come from the custom report writer. So these are just customized reports. You can also use the search engine to search for reports as well. And then here's where the report type and the report audience comes from. So you can see who these reports truly belong to and who they are intended for, and what's the purpose of the reports. So you could create a new report from here. Typically, what I like to do is if I'm wanting to build a balance sheet or just edit a balance sheet, I would just edit the one that's already in the system and then duplicate it. If you want to show this at the top, you could put in like a period in the front. So it shows up at the top of the list. And then from more actions, so you can process and store a report. So what that means is if this was a large report and it takes a while to run it, you could process and store it. So it would happen in the back, well, it would be uploading in the background. So when you're, um, so you'll just check on it from time to time. I believe you could set up something to get like a notification maybe, but you can view the stored reports here. You can view the audit trail. So if you want to view the audit trail on that report to see if there's been any updates or changes to it, you can. And then you can edit the schedule, edit the report, or delete the report from here. So for now, we'll just edit this report. So we see the report name here. We see the report type, those brought over. The report is going to be active. And then since we duplicated this report, it's going to be hard coded to accounts structure just because that's what these standard reports are set up to be. So now if we go to the rows tab, here we see the account group. So if I wanted to add an additional account group to this, I can by going to um, selected accounts and then go to account group. And then these are all the account groups that are in the system. And then let's say that you do have a purpose for this. So let's say that you want to look at dues and subscription. The account groups would be limited to only what's included on the account group purpose. So this would be a good filtering option without having to see everything that's in the system. You can also view the row structure, well, the account group and the row structure from here. So if I click view on assets, here I will see that this is a group of account groups. So assets is the overall account group and it contains current assets, fixed assets, intangible assets, investments, and other assets within that account group. So these are individual account groups within the overall arching account group assets. So have, let's say that you have assets here that you want on the report to display a different name for assets. You could change that information here. Same thing with display total line as. So if you want to say um, net assets or something like that, you can put that in here. Normal balance is just going to be the normal balance of the account group. So in this case, it's just going to be a debit. And then you have your account group purpose and account group manager. Here you can select the account groups if needed. And then down below, you'll see the filter options that you could do. So if you only want to see if for a specific department, you could do something like this. Same thing with locations. The only thing about this is if you do have filters on the report writer, they could contradict each other. So you just want to be mindful when setting up the report filters on the account groups. And then I'll just create a new account group. So we could go over the other options. So for the structure type, if I choose accounts, I can either choose a range of accounts. So if I just wanted to see all the cash accounts, I could do something like that. Or if I want to see an individual account, I can add that to the account group. So these are just picking their ranges or specific accounts. Computations. So either I could do a computation by account group, an account, or a constant value. So if I wanted to do an account group that calculates um, maybe accounts receivable and revenue, I could do something like that. Categories. So you could add categories to an account group, and same thing with static categories. You could do that too. So here we're just going to do a live report so we can see a preview of what we already have. So here we see the summary versions of this. So now if I want to, here I could expand by dimensions if I wanted to. And then I could open this up and then show the detailed version of cash and cash equivalent. So here I see the detailed version of this while being able to still see the summary versions of these account groups. And then like with anything in tech, if you see a blue hyperlink, you could drill down into it. So it would take you to the general ledger report that makes up this amount. And then if you need to drill down even further, you could drill down here and it would take you to the transaction. Basis for amounts. So this is just how it's going to calculate. You could update this if you want, but usually the default from the group is what most people need. And then the always display. So if you want a account or an account group to always show up, regardless of it has a any activity or not, you would just select all, and then it would pop up with everything. So even though these didn't have any activity in this, since I selected always display, these will show up on the report. Next thing we want to do is cover columns. So for column type, so this is when you start bringing in the data. So you could either have like account name, account number and name. You could change it from like the start of date range, no title, or you could have like a custom header. Same thing with period, column heading two, so you could change that. Then you could change the overall column heading here. So column two is where we bring in the financial data. So if you want to have actual, you can. There's other options as well. So you can bring in the budget if you want to, um, have a forecast, calculated value. So you can either have a default based off of the normal value, or you can use the rows tab settings, or you could hard code it to one of these settings. So for the period is going to be for an income statement. Start of period is going to be and end of period is going to be for balance sheet. Reporting period, so you could change it to current month if you have a fiscal current year that you want to run. There's an option for that as well. The offset, so if you increase this and it stays on prior period, based off of the reporting period, is going to go back a month. So this one is hard coded for 12/31/2019. So since we did a prior period, it went back to 11/2019. Dimension structures. So this is where if you have a dimension structure, you can add this, and this is used for being able to pull certain analysis for it for that certain dimension on this column. And then you can either expand by the dimension structure or time period or any of the other dimensions that you have in scope. Show number as, so here you could do it by the number. If you do like a calculation or anything of that nature, you can have it show as a percentage. And then here down below is where you could do a conditional highlighting rule. So if you wanted to see something that is, if you wanted to do like a comparison, you could do greater than 0, then less than or less than 0. Then you could use the multiple color options, which will allow you to have different color coordinations. So after I set this, and then if I preview this, so all of these are green. If I had any negatives, they would show up red. So since I changed it to less than or equal to 0, these are now red, and then it gives you like a pop-up, and you know that it's either less than or equal to 0. You could do the same thing with color scale. So if you want to color scale certain things, you can. Spark line is just going to be a line graph. Then you could do summary on columns. So if there's multiple columns that you want to do a calculation for, you can. So if I add a column to the right, and then I click on summary on columns, let's say that I want to do, let's say I want to add as an operation, and then I want to do 2 comma 3. So it's going to take column 2 and then add it to column 3. And then I'm going to click OK. So now if I preview it, it gives me the sum of both of these columns. The next thing we want to go over is the format. So here, if I see an existing report that I want to copy the format from, all I would need to do is select the report here and the formatting will copy over. You could prompt certain accounts for this as well. Um, you could display how you want to see your negative numbers. On PDF, you can see if you want to have it as black or if you want to have it as red. Rounding, so if you want to have rounding or if you don't want to have rounding, you just display that there. Same thing with the currency. Here you get to display whether you want to have how you want your zeros to show up on the report. And then down below, you can see if you want to have your dimensions to be name only, ID only, or name and ID. And then you can sort those alphabetically as well. For page setup here, you'll be able to include the logo on the report. You'll still have to set up the logo in the company settings, but you can include the logo on this report as well. Same thing with the title. You can show footer, footer information if you need to. You can change the alignment, and then down below you can set up the fonts, and you can have like bold or italics beside those. For those fonts as well. Then down below, it's just going to be the page margins, so you can set the margins how you want. And then down below is just more font setup for the columns. Rows and totals. So here you'll be able to set up the rows how you want them. So if you don't want to see like this current assets, for example, so if I chose hide heading and then click preview and then live report, so it got rid of the current assets, so it just starts with cash and cash equivalent. If I want to center the heading, I can. Same thing with having like page breaks. And then you could have different formatting. So if you want something to be underlined on the report, you can set that up. And then if you want to show different currencies on the report, you can set it up however you need to. So that's the end for intro to financial reports demo.